All right, we are back with Reggie Middleton, entrepreneurial investor and independent analyst, to talk about Bank of America. We got into it a little bit before the break. We talked about the credit default swaps, their exposure to the Eurozone debt crisis, and of course their acquisition of Countrywide, which saddled them with all of these foreclosed homes, bad mortgages, and litigation as well. So, Reggie, I want to bring you back into the conversation because you were mentioning before the insolvency of Bank of America. And this is something you've been warning about since 2008. So my question is, why do you think that now is the time that this is going to reach a tipping point, if that's the case and that this is what you're saying?
Because there's just some pressure from all sides of Bank of America. Before the break, we discussed the Countrywide acquisition, the negative purchase, in my opinion, where they paid less than zero for Countrywide. Basically, they had to pay to buy. There's a negative hole. Countrywide created a negative hole in the acquisition. They also purchased Merrill Lynch, which is one of the biggest CDS writers of that particular period. And you can see where that's gotten them now. Of course, if the U.S. banks can somehow wiggle out of credit default event, then the CDS won't get paid out. But it's a catch-22. The last time I was on your show, I made it very clear in a simple term, the only way out of this is debt destruction, where people have to lose significant money to fill the capital hole. And the same still stands. Let's assume that somehow, through some miracle of financial engineering or voluntary pressure, that there is no credit event and the CDS don't get paid out. That means that all of these large banks that have so many hundreds of trillions of dollars of exposure are now not hedged. They're now naked. So Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, Citibank, JP Morgan are now naked because their credit default swaps may or may not get paid because the credit event is decided upon politicians somewhere in Europe and a back room somewhere.
So you're saying
so it's a catch-22.
It's a catch-22 because the credit event is decided upon by politicians regardless of what the market is saying or what the reality is.
Well, that's what the politicians are saying. I've yet to be convinced of that, but I'm just giving you a hypothetical. No matter which way it goes, you don't have a fundamental basis for, a 40 or 50-point jump in the S&P 500 in one day.
Right.
Things are not better. They're not even the same. They're worse than they were before.
They're worse than they were before. So you say with this combined pressure on Bank of America, with Countrywide, with Merrill Lynch, with all of this that's going on kind of at a more macro level, are you saying that Bank of America is going to fail in the way that Lehman Brothers did?
Well, I haven't ran the numbers in quite some time because there are bigger fish to catch in the sea, but it's my off-the-cuff opinion that the common equity in Bank of America is either worthless or very close to it. That $6 that you see quoted on your stock screen is gimme, basically, and it shouldn't be there. If you remember other banks that apparently almost died in a flash were trading a lot higher than $6. Bear Stearns was trading triple digits just a couple of months before it collapsed. Lehman Brothers was trading at $40 or $50 just a few months before it collapsed. Bank of America has been holding on by a thread. They have had a lot of government assistance, but they also have much larger problems than Lehman from an aggregate perspective. They bought two of the biggest.
A much larger problem.
Yeah, they bought two of the biggest problems in each industry.
Wow. Okay, so much larger problem. You say they're hanging by a thread. If that's the case, why isn't everyone out there saying what you're saying? Why is Warren Buffett giving them $5 billion too?
Well, Warren Buffett is not the average investor. I said the common equity is worthless. Warren Buffett goes in with preferred equity with special liquidation rights, where he gets paid before you would get paid if you go to your E-Trade account and attempt to buy stock. That being said, from what I understand, I wouldn't have bought the preferred either. But, it's Warren Buffett. I don't want to denigrate him. He's a very successful man, but I definitely do disagree with that purchase. I think there were other better purchases to be made. But that's what makes a trade. There's two sides to every trade.
And just quickly, why are you out there saying what other people aren't?
I'm a very honest person. I'm not long only. I go long or short, and I basically say what I see. A lot of the pundits on many of the media outlets are long on the investors, so they talk their book, basically.
All right.
Again, not to denigrate many investors, but, that's the way I see it. Let's put it that way.
And Reggie Middleton, we appreciate you coming on the show and telling us why you think that Bank of America, without all of the other influences that maybe some people that go on TV do have, why you think it's essentially worthless, and why all of this news out of Europe, the news about Countrywide and what still exists there, is all bad, and you shouldn't believe that stock price. That was Reggie Middleton in our New York studio.